part 2, since I'll edit some of this out. More people that are awesome. Lauren Marie Taylor, welcome back. You're actually the first returning guest, which I have a few others that are returning soon. So that's a nice accomplishment there for you.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah, thank you. And In a Violent Nature was great. I loved seeing you in that. David, welcome. We were talking. You got great taste, man, and you said Charlie too with your taste in horror and film.
Online.
We were talking like an hour or so last night on Instagram, going back and forth, Lynch and everything, and then Italian horror, giallos. I mean, that's all my
love
stuff.
it all. Yeah.
Caroline was saying, how much of a big passion project this was for all you guys, and it shows throughout this movie. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of heart in here. The script is like the biggest thing that I can praise about this. I told Caroline before we went live that the only thing I can see is like slasher fans that only go to see slasher films for the kills, like, and are expecting something like Art the Clown or anything like that. They might be a little let down, but this is much more than a slasher film to me. I mean, the script is so well written. So how did this all start? Like, David, you, I know now, I was going to ask you guys, Caroline told me that you guys have known each other for a bit, Charlie and David.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, me and Charlie have known each other for like 9 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a long time.
Okay, because you're British too, so that makes sense. All right. I hear the accent.
Yeah.
That's great. But so did you guys come together for this project, or David, did you write it and then bring it to Charlie, or tell us all about how this all started?
So me and Charlie have worked together for many years on various different projects. I'm usually predominantly just an actor. I not really.
There we go. That's better. I was messing around with it.
That's fine. So I usually work with Charlie as just an actor. But this was one of the first times where I was actually writer and actor. So it was actually during COVID back in 2021. So it was a bit different in the UK. It was there was a full lockdown. There was several lockdowns actually.
I have some friends, like I was telling you there. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of relentless. And then there was like this final lockdown. I think it was like January 2021, and it went on for like several months. So I wasn't doing any acting because there was nothing going on. And I've always written, but I always focus on acting. I kind of put writing to the side for a little bit, for a long time actually. But then when obviously COVID hit, I had all this time on my hands, and I wanted to keep busy, keep creative.
Absolutely, especially with that going on with the COVID nonsense and craziness. I mean, you got to stay busy.
Exactly. And so I've had this idea for a number of years of a Christmas horror, because I love Christmas horror, like the subgenre itself. Black Christmas is like my favorite horror film of all time, like the original.
Oh, classic. Classic.
It is very good.
We don't have to talk about that 2019 film.
But I had to. So I've always kind of been obsessed with like slasher films, 70s, 80s horror as well. So I'd had this idea of writing a Christmas horror for a number of years, and I finally had the time to do it. So I kind of just went to it. I had all this time to kind of really like develop the script and come up with all these different characters and ideas. And I never had so much free time before. So that's when I wrote the script. I had so much fun doing it. I just, it kept me busy, and it was just fun. I just put everything into it, all the kind of things that I wanted to see in, a slasher film that, maybe I hadn't seen before, or just, things that I wanted to see personally. I just, kind of all into that. And then I was pretty happy with it. And then that's when I gave it to Charlie. And he seemed to, enjoy it, and that's kind of when it took its journey to America.
And since you guys have worked together, known each other for a long while now and stuff, I'm sure it's a lot easier of a process bringing it to him. You guys get each other. It's a lot easier than just bringing it to some director that you maybe worked with once or twice and never before.
For sure, yeah. So that was very easy. So I literally put it in his hands, basically.
Well, David actually wrote a couple of scripts in that time, because as he says, he had a lot of free time. So but it's really nice to write a script that is actually, there's not like, time pressures. You didn't even know if these scripts were going to ever get made.
No.
Yeah.
So that's a nice environment to write something. He was just writing it for the love of writing it. And it wasn't for years until we actually made it. But I read both of the two scripts. I liked both of the scripts. But this one in particular, really, I loved the idea of doing something that was like so campy. Because David loves all of these.
The humor is so good throughout this movie. Me and Caroline were talking about it. There's so much charm in this film. And you could feel, especially with lower budgeted films, you could feel the love and the passion from everybody involved throughout this movie. Like it really, because you can't fake that. You can't fake cheese or charm or none of those can you fake. And it was a blast going through all of it. The humor, the twists and turns. I don't know if you guys want to get the spoilers too much, because me and Caroline didn't. So it's totally up to you guys.
Okay.
We don't mind spoilers, do we?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not like,
because I gave the most vague plot synopsis that you can imagine.
But I mean, the general basis of it is, my two favorite things in the world are, 70s and 80s slasher movies and soap operas from the 80s. Like I'm a big fan. So with this, I really wanted to kind of join the two together.
So now that you told me about Twin Peaks, how you love, I can see that play or an absolute influence in the script.
Yeah, huge fan of something like that.
But that's what interested me in doing the script in the first place, is that David has a more unique angle in that he is interested in, all these soaps and that type of drama. Like as you said earlier, it's like if we just wanted to just make a straight Christmas horror slasher ripoff of Silent Night, Deadly Night filled with gore and guts, fine, we could have set out and done that. But that's not actually what. So yeah, fans coming off of like Terrifier 3 wanting a blood-soaked Christmas horror movie may well not find it here, but I like that this is something completely the opposite end of the spectrum. I think the horror in it is like relatively light. It's a quite light-hearted movie, but it's
and that's what gives it a lot of charm. And
so I'm glad you said it. And that's what's unique about this one compared to all the other Christmas horror films that have come before.
And it's a subgenre that we don't have. It's not a big subgenre. We especially slashers, like Christmas slashers.
It seems
you got Silent Night, Deadly Night. You're getting more as the years are going on now. But like when you look at the like you're saying, like 70s, 80s, Christmas Evil, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas, it was pretty niche, back then, especially slashers. Horror in general for Christmas, that's a little different, but still a little bit niche. But yeah, this was just I did not expect to have so much fun with this, honestly, because I was going into it thinking like you just said, Charlie, like a not typical, but like your Santa slasher, And then once I started seeing it, and I started loving the characters, and David, you did such a great job.
Oh, thank you.
I had an idea you were British, but I wasn't sure. Throughout it, I was like, I'm not sure.
Now.
I was like, I'm pretty sure he is, but I don't know, because he's pulling off this accent and this character very well. It's not sounding British at all.
From the two Americans here, then I'll take that.
Lauren can vouch for it. Lauren, how did you get involved? You guys went to Lauren, or do you guys know each other before that?
No. We'd never met Lauren before, but we obviously knew of Lauren, and a fan of her work. But
I never heard of her before a year or two ago.
No, I mean it's funny that you were mentioning about being a fan of soap operas, because I spent all that time. Honestly,
yeah.
When the script popped into my inbox from Charlie on my email, as I'm reading, I'm going, "This is very soap opera-y." But it was
I want to remember the name of the soap opera. Let's see how good my memory is. There was something Love in it, wasn't it?
Loving. Yeah.
Loving. Yeah. All right. I was missing 3 letters and another one that was taken out.
Beginning to end, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
But it is funny. It's fun to be a part of something that takes the soap opera genre also and kind of turns it on its head and builds up the camp in a horror theme, and that's always fun to be involved with. And
obviously Lauren, perfect casting, because obviously horror and soap opera is, you know,
Oh yeah.
Lauren's history. So
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
No, everyone did such a great job in this, and there's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of humor, and there's a lot of twists and turns in this. And that's my vague synopsis earlier with Caroline was: we have Chester, played by David. Something happens to him early in his life, and then it flashes forward, and more crazy shit happens. That was it. That was as much as I said. So if you guys want to expand on that a bit, whatever you guys want to do. I don't like to give spoilers out if if people don't want them out yet before the film. How long did it take? Like, I think it was a week that Caroline said that you had her there, right? So how long was shooting like altogether?
well, we were in the States for, I think we were in the States for maybe 6 weeks, I think, in total.
Yeah, a month or something like that.
Yeah, and yeah, so
Okay.
Caroline was there for a solid week, and we did, you know, a lot of her scenes in like a kind of big bulk. And then we obviously Lauren's scenes were in like a completely different setting.
Because you play Lauren, the mom of Eden, who is the old friend of your character, David Chester. What was your thoughts about like it sounds like you weren't focused as much on the kills in this movie, because like you said, you wanted it to be a lot more than that, and it definitely is. How much emphasis did you really put on, the death sequences and stuff, like the kills?
Well, I mean, the shoot, you're asking like how long it was. I mean,
Yeah.
no film do you ever really have enough time, but like when you're on a really independent budget, like you really don't have time. And this was such a tight shoot, like one of the tightest shoots I've ever had to do. And I mean,
really, wow,
all the actors did an amazing job, because we were just kind of like setting up the shots and just going through one by one by one. And the schedule kind of got thrown off in the early days of the shoot, and we were just playing catch up from start to end. So all of the stuff at the main house, which is Caroline's house, was just an absolute mad rush. And I mean, I wish there was more time to do. I mean, there was more stuff in David's script that just didn't make.
Yeah,
I'm sure that happens all the time, right?
It's always the way, but you have to prioritize the runtime and the dialogue so that the story actually makes sense. We didn't allow ourselves as much time as I would have wanted to do, and I know, as per David's script, David's script did have more sort of like gore and guts and all of that sort of stuff, but we had to kind of we were just amazed that we even got through it at all.
Yeah.
It was just so tight, and you're just chasing your tail. By the time we got to do Lauren's scenes, it was a whole new location with a smaller cast, so it was a little bit more relaxed.
It was a lot more chilled. So yeah, Lauren got to see the chilled side of
chaos. We were very chill by the time I got there.
Yeah, I think we were just exhausted.
Caroline was saying that Charlie, you can keep your composure very well and stuff under pressure. So she said same with David, but said he could worry a little more. I don't want to speak for her. That's what she said, though. I mean, I can see it though, because I got that mind that never stops.
Well, it's quite a nice combination, because I'm really relaxed and chilled, and I just methodically get the film shot one shot at a time. Sometimes it's helpful though to have David there, like a fire behind me,
it's like the Lennon and McCartney relationship where you balance each other out.
Yeah, and there was a moment in this film where we were filming the very final scene, and we reached the end of our time at the location, and I said, "That's it. The film ends now. We've reached our limit, and I don't like to go over the agreed time with the location." But David was like, "We have to get this done. We have to. There's more left of the story." So I was not happy to call it a day, but it's just that's it. For me, we're done. We're out of time.
I sat there, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's done, and I was like, it absolutely cannot be done.
Long story short, David bought us more time to get those final shots that we needed. So
it's some sweet talking. But,
that happened if it was me on my own. So it's a good thing to have someone else, fighting the movie, because it is so hard to get it from A to B. But
I said earlier with Caroline, I said about low budget films. I always say the most important thing is that you have to be good at writing to that budget. You know, if
Mhm.
you know what your budget is and you start writing in like explosions and car crashes and stuff like that, you know there's going to be issues because you're not going to be able to pull that off under the budget. So it takes a lot of talent and just compartmentalization and planning to be able to write as well to your budget. And I think all of you guys did a great job with that.
Yeah, and you know that was pure luck because, as I say, David wrote the script. He wrote it knowing that he shouldn't be writing explosions and car chases because
Yeah.
But that's never been in the script.
Oh
No,
yeah,
but
exactly. There's some people that don't know, that aren't like that and don't think ahead, and then they write crazy stuff in, and then they're like, shit, what do I do now? We got no more money.
yeah, exactly. But,
Yeah, I mean, because I'd worked with Charlie so many times and on other film projects. Like,
Yeah.
I had an understanding of like, okay, what's realistically going to be able to be done, basically. So I try to keep within my means, but still try and have a good amount of freedom and go on, but not be ridiculous with it, basically.
David, your character of Chester, what was your like influences for that? Did you draw from any experiences to get into that role? How did you get into the role of Chester here?
Yeah, so I mean, Chester's very troubled. So he there was kind of like
great guy though.
yeah, like poor guy, like he hasn't done anything wrong, like just having
Oh.
awful stuff happen around him. So yeah, I mean, obviously when I was writing the script, I didn't know who anyone was going to play. Obviously, I had no idea at that point. I was just writing, as intricate, fun characters as I could, as I was with. But Chester, I always knew, when I was writing it, I could just see myself writing that character. So I guess I did cater to what I wanted to do a little bit. I mean, I guess that's the kind of privilege of being the writer as well as the actor. I think, I guess.
Yeah.
So I kind of put some, stuff in there that made sense to the story, but also things that I wanted to do, and I wanted him to be, like have a little bit of humor to him, and be a little bit
great. You got great lines in it. There's some funny shit you come out with in this movie. Fun little stabs back at people and just witty remarks and stuff. I was cracking up through some parts of this movie.
Well, that's because I was hoping that Chester would still be, fun and interesting, because you've got all these other characters that are so much kind of like bigger and more bold and more outrageous. With this one, you don't know who's good, who's bad.
When you're telling me last night that you're a big Williamson fan, that he was a big one of your biggest influences, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Scream as well. I mean, there's a few Scream influences in this as well, just from like, I suppose from a dialogue standpoint, just because I think Scream is witty, it's fun, it's like fast paced, it's like I think it's hopefully.
Honestly, I enjoyed this movie more than any Scream sequel.
Oh wow!
I told you last night I'm not a big Scream fan at all. You could see Williamson's influence on you in the writing, but I think you did such a great job with it.
Thank you.
Did you know that you wanted Lauren to play her character and Caroline to play her character, and reached out to them? Like, did you know like pretty early on, like after writing the characters and you got to that stage, that let's reach out to Lauren Martell and let's reach out to Caroline Williams?
I think when I first wrote it, I didn't know it was even going to be made. So at that point,
exactly.
Hopefully, some I'll get some great people to work on this. But at that point, I didn't really have anyone in mind at that point. But as soon as we found out that it was going to be made, we were like, that's when we were like, okay, now we can see who would work perfect for that. And we just knew instantly Caroline would work so perfectly for Aunt Marion. We both said that, didn't we?
As soon as we got the green light, we knew that we wanted Caroline to play Aunt Marion. There was never anyone else that we considered for it.
I mean, she's so good at playing those eccentric characters and stuff. And I knew ahead of time before seeing the movie, just seeing the trailer. And thank you guys so much for the screener. I really appreciate it. But seeing the trailer, just seeing her, I said, oh, she's going to nail it in this. Just because I know that she could play those roles so well. And she was saying it's just like pretty much effortless for her. She read it. She said, oh, okay, yeah, I got this. Like, I can do this. And she destroyed it just like everybody in this film did. Such a great job.
Caroline did such a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
that's great.
She is, as did everyone. And then
We were
Oh, yeah.
lucky with the whole cast on this. I mean,
yeah,
like
You got I'm not a big Hellraiser fan. Nicholas Vince, is his name?
yeah,
Yes.
Nicholas Vince.
Yeah.
From
Is that-
Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2.
Everyone came
Yes.
together on this, and just as a director, it was just like it was so everyone just they read this script, they got the script, and then they just sort of went with it. And as a director, for the scenes with like all the characters in the house bitching with each other and arguing, you could just sort of let them loose, and all I really needed to do was encourage them to keep going and keep going down the road they were already on, because we were just so lucky. Everyone managed to do their character so well.
Yeah.
And
They
we
really
got
did.
something from England, so we never met anyone until we actually got to New York.
Yeah, I mean, the only other English actor was Nick Vince, and his is the only scene that we did in the UK.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we were obviously incredibly lucky to get Lauren as well.
Oh, too nice.
And I obviously Charlie is as well, but I'm a huge fan of the Friday the 13th movies, and
Yep, me too.
the slasher from the 70s or 80s, I will have seen it. So I know, like,
Yeah, exactly. Me too. That's what we were saying. Slasher is my favorite subgenre. That's why it was a pleasure having Lauren on last year to talk all that. But it's great to be able to talk the new stuff, because a lot of people just want to talk about the classics and stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, you keep moving on, and there's new things and that you guys are very proud of. And I mean, Charlie, was this harder or different in any way from any previous films you directed? Because you've directed a decent amount of movies.
Yeah,
How was this different in any way?
Yeah, I mean, every film, I try my best with every single film I do to try something completely different. Like you'll watch one film and it'll be, one style of horror, and then the next, usually it's like if I'm shooting one and it's like slow burn, haunted house, washed out colors, elegant camera movements, and holding on a shot for a long time. By the time I finish shooting that, I'll have the urge to just go handheld and do something gritty and bloody and splattery. So,
and then go up and do something like a horror comedy wacky, I mean, you got to keep things interesting for sure. And different.
I hadn't tried before. The level of camp with this one, all the
great.
it's like all the girls in their makeup and their 80s wardrobe, and
obviously because it's set in the 80s as well.
Yeah, it's in the 80s. It's great.
And then through post-production as well, like with the 80s music that we put into it and stuff like that.
The score is very good. Who did the score?
The score is by an Italian composer who's done like a whole bunch of
That sounds great to me already.
And there was a tough score, because I mean we went back and forth loads, because it's a comedy but it's also horror. But
that's true, yeah. To strike that balance right with the score, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like laugh out loud comedy.
No,
it's like
it's quirky more than anything.
Yeah, no, it's guys who plan on checking this out. This is not a comedy and stuff like anything like that. It's a horror movie that is witty, that has a lot of humor throughout it, and a lot of suspense throughout it, and a lot of horror throughout it. It's a very unique movie, and it's a breath of fresh air actually to see a movie like this, especially with, I mean, we see a lot of independent films in the horror genre that have been taking off, like we mentioned Terrifier 3 and that whole series. I mean, who would have thunk that? But thunk isn't a word, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I make words up all the time. Who would have thought that? But you see that more and more with independent films, and it's a great thing to see them getting into theaters and getting more recognition or anything like that. So, I mean, you've put, obviously, all you guys, like all your passion and heart into this, and it really does show throughout the whole movie. What did I want to ask Lauren? I just had a question in my head for Lauren. You made me forget, Lauren.
Sorry.
Even though you didn't say anything really in the last 30 seconds when I was thinking about it.
Long
Oh, that's right.
Island.
Yeah, all right, I remember now. You made me forget, but now you did make me remember. So we're all good now. This is what, the second horror film of the year for you, because you had In the Violent Nature,
Yeah.
Then you had this. So what, I don't really have to add what was different. The roles in being involved with both of those movies are very different films. But
Very.
what was your experience going from doing that film? This wasn't. I assume that was shot last year or something earlier than this year. But what was any differences going from like a film like that to this film, which you fit right in, like we said, with your background in soap operas and in horror?
Yeah, I mean, the pace was, it's weird. The pace was similar but different, obviously in A Violent Nature. What the audience sees is a very ambient, slow
Yes,
burn
yes.
movie. But the similarities, though, are on set of being in, a limited budget, movies with a limited budget, and that whole balls to the walls thing to get it done within that time limit, like in A Violent Nature, because we're outside.
Yeah.
The sun setting.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and Caroline was saying that it was right. You guys shot this movie, Charlie, what, right at September, I think she said you started. So it was right like when the seasons were starting to change. So I'm sure that could have been a little difficult planning around.
Yeah, luckily my scenes, well, except for the first one, are inside. So if we lost light, that was okay.
Yeah.
But what I was mentioning when David picked me up at the airport just earlier today, it's you guys are young, you guys are young directors, and to work with Nash and with Charlie now, and to just see how this new group of directors works, and the efficiency and the creativity and the passion and the thoughtfulness. It's just so heartwarming for the future of not just the genre, but just movies in general.
Oh yeah. And actually, Caroline was saying something like almost identical to what you just said. When I asked her, I was, these are the next generation of filmmakers, and you have yourself and Caroline, all these people that are well known in the horror genre, and what's it like working with that new generation of filmmakers coming up? And pretty much same answer. That it's really humbling, and then it's great, and you guys have just a lot of creativity that went into this, and it's really making me have to go back and watch some more of your films, Charlie, and things that you've written. David, have you written other films that Charlie has directed? Have you guys worked on other movies in the past?
So there actually is one that should be coming out next year sometime. That was actually the first film that I did with Charlie that I'd written and was in. So that's like actually a thriller. But yeah, that's taking a little bit longer to come out. But yeah, that should be out soon. And yeah, we're also working on a new project actually.
Awesome.
That I've written. Charlie's
whatever. Can you talk anything about it, or if not, don't worry.
I'll leave that to the director.
Yeah, Charlie, it's up to you, man.
We've not begun shooting yet, and I'm like, I don't
like.
You don't
want to get into it, don't get into it.
We
I don't like spoilers either,
because it might jinx it. Like no film is done or even exists until you've actually completed that. Even you could shoot for 20 days, and then on the 21st day, you could ruin the whole thing. With one bad day of filming, the whole thing could be something that is an embarrassment to us all. So I like to keep everything quiet but we are all here we're all here on location. We begin shooting tomorrow morning on a new project.
Oh, that'll be great. And
by David, starring David and Lauren.
Great, because I was saying I'd love to see David in more, like acting more in more movies. I know you did some acting in other films, right, before this?
Yeah. I mean,
I just I wasn't familiar. I got to go back and check some of those out. But yeah, just hearing that you guys, both you too, Lauren, are going to be in this next movie, that's very exciting.
Have Lauren back, so.
But color lipstick.
Yeah, but tonally, there's a similar vibe. It was written again by David, so
I have a kind of a thing that I like to do. So
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. I'm similar with it. Very particular. I have a very quirkiness. Everyone has their own quirky ways that they go about things and stuff.
Yeah. I posted something on social media one day. Was it that or something else? Where I called David the. Oh no, it's on my bio on my website. That's where it is. Where I call him king of British family dysfunction.
I will
That's
say
great. Especially after seeing the movie. I mean, I could agree with that. We'll see how this newer film holds up in that same way, or
carries on into
to officially give you the crown. Then I'll send you a crown. Burger King's. I think they still give those out, right? They got those crowns they had out. How'd you go about getting Nicholas? I always forget his name. I'm not a fan of Hellraiser. The guy from Hellraiser.
Oh yeah.
Yes. What was it? Did you guys reach out to him? Did you have him in mind once you had, the story written? You knew what you were doing around the same time you were reaching out to Lauren and Caroline. How'd it go reaching out to him?
So Nick is a friend from in London, the horror community and the horror scene down there.
Okay.
We go to Fright Fest, and I've played Fright Fest a couple of times. And I've been friendly with Nick just from being, he's a big personality and everybody kind of knows him, and he's so lovely.
Yeah.
He did great in this movie.
He's such a horror fan, and he's also such a great support for younger horror people. So I'd known him from just the horror circuit in London.
That's great.
And we saw this. There was one scene that I said, because we were on such a tight schedule in New York, I said, this one scene, we don't need to shoot that in America. We can shoot that in England and nobody would ever know it was shot in England. But that actually gave us, the opportunity.
Some wiggle room there.
To actually cast someone, a horror actor in London. So Nick was the person that we reached out to. And he's just lovely and so much fun.
Yeah,
and we're massive Hellraiser fans.
Huge.
Yeah. I like the first two. I never saw, I think, past the third one.
It's a top 3 horror movie for me, Hellraiser. It's just one of the top 3 most perfect horror movies. But I love the first 4, and I love the reboot that they did.
I really like that, actually. The remake from a few years ago, was it 2 years ago, last year, something like that? I had a question, and then Lauren just took it away from me again. You keep doing it. Why are you doing it to me? You're killing me. No, Charlie, what are some of your biggest influences as a director? Because I know David was telling me you're big into Italian and giallo and stuff like that, which is great to hear. What are some of your biggest influences?
Yeah, the big 3 for me are Lucio Fulci and Argento and Mario
Bava. Yeah, that's my 3 too.
I particularly love Lucio Fulci because he's made so many movies. I mean, I love the Italian filmmakers, and I kind of I idolize them in a way because they were like real working filmmakers who they took everything. Fulci's done horror and comedy, period films.
Yeah. What is it? The Devil's Honey. I didn't care for that one that much, but that's like a romantic comedy or something like that.
He's tried his hand at every genre, and sometimes he's like a master, and then other times the films are garbage. But that is filmmaking, and he just has to. He had a career where he's just a working filmmaker, and I think some people who watch horror movies, and it's easy to point out, that one's a classic and that one's a classic, but the reality for us as filmmakers is you just go where the work is, and that's just how it is. So I love that about Fulci, and he just got the job done, and delivered the goods. Whereas I also love filmmakers like John Carpenter and stuff, but they've got
top for me too.
Filmography where every single one is a hit, and he can afford to take 3 years off and then come back with another classic. And we'd all love to be in that situation at one point.
Bava, I think I don't think he's ever made a bad movie. I say it all the time, but Bava never made a bad film. And he's probably my favorite horror director. I mean, there's a few of his films I haven't seen, his non-horror films, and there's a whole bunch of films he finished for other directors that just abandoned projects and went uncredited for it. So I mean, that also ties into what you're saying about just the work ethic that a lot of those legendary Italian horror directors had. And it's just like, oh, you need a film finished, all right, I'll do it, and don't put me in the credits or anything. It's like you don't see that today. You definitely don't see that anywhere near, if not at all.
But yeah, I love all horror filmmakers who are like, working with a low budget and still delivering the goods. I'm a big Stuart Gordon fan as well, and it's
Love
like,
Gordon.
you know, he never really had a really good budget, but the films always deliver top-notch gore. So I find that inspiring, because it doesn't, to me, I've never had a huge budget to work with. I've always had to work at an independent level. Maybe one day I'll get up to the bigger budget stuff. But,
Honestly, from just seeing this film, I'm sure you will, because
I hope so too.
the
But
talent that you've shown just seeing this movie with a lower budget, and I know you've done a lot of lower budget films in the past. I can almost guarantee you'll definitely get the higher budget and stuff, and you'll do great with that too.
oh, thank you for the vote of confidence. But
Absolutely. I could be completely wrong though. I mean, I'm wrong half the time, if not more. But I'm hoping. I'm optimistic.
but yeah,
kidding.
my point is that you have to disregard budget when you kind of go into these movies and just do your best to deliver the goods. We're all mega horror fans ourselves, and we just want to make the stuff that we would want to watch. And so
that's what shows too, through watching the movie, is that the passion and just your guys' love for the horror genre. Because I was saying, there's a lot of great little references and homages that David wrote in there. And then Charlie, I'm sure, did you have anything? Did you throw some in too? I'm sure you did. There's a lot of homages in there that are great. Silent Night, Deadly Night. I saw Halloween, but with Santa. There's a lot of stuff, and it's done in a very clever, unique way, because you can have movies that take, that try to do those homages and references, and it's so on the nose, or it's just not done right, and it's just it feels forced. None of it did in this movie. Like, it felt very organic, and when you can throw in references to other films and stuff films that you love, and make it your own by throwing a little reference and homage in there, and do it well the way you did. I mean, it really shows too, and it was a lot of fun checking out and seeing all those little things. Saying, "Oh, that's clever. I noticed that." That's why I asked you, David, about Copper Grove or Copper's Grove, the sanitarium. I was thinking it was Copper from The Thing is my favorite film, and Smith's Grove from Halloween, which is my second favorite.
Yeah, no,
together.
No, it wasn't.
No, yeah, but it was a better story what you told me about your dad coming up with it. I mean, that's
I thought I'd let my dad have a little bit of input. I was like, come up with a good town name for me, and he came up with that one. I was like, well, that's the one it's going to be then.
Cool.
So yeah,
that's great.
That was actually the town name was actually never in the script.
Okay.
And then we were like, oh, actually, yeah, we need to know what the town name is.
Yeah, we need a name here.
And then that's my dad came up with the name, and I was like, that's what it's going to be.
It's great having you all on and being able to hear how much fun you all had doing this and making this film.
So actually, rather than like at various different points of like the world or the States or something. So it's fun to have all three.
Well, that's why I thought it would be a good date to do this, because we're actually here in the same room. It's so much nicer to all.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's
great seeing the three of you on the same screen and together, and you're laughing, and it showed. It just
sit in the bed and do this.
We were, we put a big old behind us. We were gonna do it under the covers.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you should have, right? Just got cuddled up, and that would have been nice and been cute and nice promotion. Because I mean, what's more than family and love and stuff like that around the holidays? Especially when you got a crazy Santa coming, after you too. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming on and talking about this, because and like you said, like, this is a perfect day to do this. I mean, it's 2 days before. It's the day before Halloween, 2 days before it releases, and it's just an honor for you guys to come on here and to talk about this. Really.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having us. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is Lauren Marie Taylor. This is David Lenik, and this is Charlie Steeds, director of He Sees You When You're Sleeping, which releases November 1st. Definitely check it out, everybody, because it is really a fun watch, and it's a very passionately made film. But again, guys, great having you on. Great seeing you. And I'd love to have you guys again on sometime, separately, together. Doesn't matter. Talk about new things, new projects.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye.